with you. Oh, okay, shall we do it again? I'd just like to say thank you very much to our board, current board, to Lewis, to Christian, to Elaine, to Emily, to David, to Andre. It's been a pleasure working with you. We have achieved a lot, and we will have a party and a celebration to celebrate all that we've achieved in sometime in July. And I just feel very, very honored to have worked with you, known you, and I love you all. And thank you for that. So please give them a warm round of applause. Thank you. One of the key things about my goal for this year was about clarity, setting some goals, about connection, connecting within and outside of the club, and collaboration within and outside of the club. Yesterday and the day before with VTM Con 2021 and the event in December as well, I do believe we set some goals, we connected, we collaborated inside and outside the club. And I do believe there are 3 ticks next to those 3 items right there. I'm so happy, I'm so proud. I thought that it would be fun being a president of Online Presenters. It's been much, much more than that. And nobody can ever take that away from me. And if you ever get the chance, just come, be a member, be an officer here, and you could have had the kind of year that I've had. Just say yes. It gives me great pleasure to move on with the agenda. Now, one of the things that we did a few weeks ago was to institute the idea of voting in new members. Do you remember that at the business meeting? We are going to vote in our latest member, who is Carolina Ramírez Molina. What is going to happen is that, and this has all been emailed out to you over the last few days, what is going to happen is that we are going to move guests and Carolina to a breakout room just for a few minutes while we take a vote in here. And then we'll bring the guests and Carolina back, and I make a little announcement, and then we get on with the show. How about that? Does that sound good?
Yes.
Mr. VPM, Lou Brown, is there anything else that I need to announce or do before we do this?
Only that. Sorry, let's hold off on that. No, everything's perfect, Mr. President. Thank you.
Okay, so Christian, can you please move guests and Carolina to a breakout room? Go and have a party, go and chat. We won't be too long, I promise. And please tell me when they have left. Now, in the meantime, what a show that was, folks. We had something in the region of 20, 25 of our members involved in one way or the other, maybe more. One of the reasons why we wanted to delay the celebration is that we want to celebrate the VTM as well. And I don't even know how many of us were there. At the moment, I have about 23 or 25 on my list. So what a great event. What a wonderful breakout room that Lou and Carl actually gave us yesterday. And all the members behind the scenes, from co-chairs Pamela, Christian, Special Advisor Lewis, helping myself. We were in the exec. We had people who were moderators, Zoom masters, helping in all parts of the project. I was so proud. Christian, you have some news for me?
Yes, all guests have been moved. One wasn't responsive, so I moved him to a waiting room. I'm going to message him. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, in this particular sense, what we're going to do, we have a quorum here. We are going to put a poll on the screen. Now, anybody who's a co-host will not be able to vote. So, Christian, would you like to take away co-host rights from myself and a couple of other people? And then please put the poll on the screen. Now, just to make it official, you have to put your eyes over your hand and then just press a key, okay? Just like in Florida, right, Jim? Okay, so the poll is coming up shortly. The suspense is killing me. Okay, so it says, please vote to have Carolina Ramírez Molina as a new member of Online Presenters. Pick one of the 3 options and then click on submit. And when all of us have voted, or virtually all of us have voted, then Christian will tell us, and then he will pass the results to me. Thank you.
I've got 21 out of 23 of us who have voted. It's clear. It's a clear vote. Do you want me to share the results?
Yes, please. Well, actually, would it be helpful if we bring everybody back or not?
Let's share the results and then we can announce it.
Okay. Okay, I'm happy with that. I think the Blue Sky timer abstained, but that's fine. That's okay.
Yeah.
Let's bring everybody back, shall we?
Mr. President, while we're doing that,
Yep.
the one thing I was going to talk about was, and right after the vote, we'll do the new member induction. And I realized, I don't want to jump the gun. So let's conduct that right when Carolina comes back in the room.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
And they're coming back now.
This is the way to do it, Lou. Quick fire, shotgun.
I love it. And I'll need a screen share capability.
I'm not a co-host anymore.
Yeah, I believe Mr. Christian.
Please go ahead.
Okay, so is Carolina in the room? Carolina, please unmute yourself. Wave to me, please.
Now, hi.
Hey.
I'm seeing the poll results.
You're seeing them?
Yes.
Okay. Well, okay. So this ruins everything, because I was just going to say,
No.
Sorry to give you the bad news. I tried to persuade them. Now, congratulations, Carolina. We are so proud of you. You are the first person in Online Presenters history to be voted in live at a club meeting. And I'm so glad I got to do it today with you. Thank you so much.
Great.
Fabulous. Well done. Congratulations. And Lou is going to take you through the new member induction. Take it away, Lou.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. President, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. On behalf of Online Presenters Toastmasters, it is my duty and privilege to induct Carolina Ramírez Molina. This is an important occasion both for Carolina and for our club. As experienced Toastmasters, this individual, Carolina, will enrich us as we strive to enrich her. In a spirit of sharing and enjoyment, we had quite a bit of that over the weekend, didn't we? Together, we expand our effectiveness as dynamic leaders, presenters, and communicators. Now, Carolina, please wait until I call on you to affirm your commitment to the Toastmasters promise. In the presence of fellow online presenters, do you, Carolina, pledge to attend meetings regularly and prepare for each assignment, to actively participate in club activities, to evaluate others in a positive, constructive manner, to build open, friendly relationships with our fellow members, and to bring other new members into our club so that they too can gain from the benefits of Toastmasters? Carolina, please unmute and say I do.
I do.
Wonderful. To you, the current members of Online Presenters, I remind you of your pledge to support Carolina in her quest for self-development, to provide her with positive, helpful evaluations, to maintain a friendly, supportive atmosphere, and to make her Online Presenters Toastmasters membership a rewarding and fulfilling experience. Congratulations, Carolina, and welcome to Online Presenters. Everyone, feel free to unmute and welcome Carolina to our club.
Thank you very much.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah. Back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Lou. Carolina, congratulations. We're so happy to have you. You came here 2 or 3 times, we know, And it's a great honor that we did this today. First one, always remember it. And you're going to have a great time in Online Presenters. Jump right in with 2 feet and arrange your speech. Oh, hang on, you have. Well done.
Yeah.
So it gives a great pleasure now to let's get on with the agenda. Let's get our Toastmaster of the day. Please give a warm hand for the very delightful and lovely Emily Thompson.
Thank you, Nick. We are going to let's see. I am unmuted. All right. We are going to have a fabulous evening tonight because you are here. So give us all some hearts or some thumbs up to show your appreciation. Let's see it. All right. Thank you. All right. Wonderful. Now, for those who are guests tonight, our meeting is divided into 3 parts. The first part is going to be our prepared speeches, and we have 3 speakers who have prepared speeches for this evening. The second part is our impromptu speaking in the form of table topics, and we do sometimes invite our guests to participate in that. The third part is our evaluations of the prepared speeches, and that's what makes Toastmasters different from other speaking clubs, where we actually have evaluations in the same meeting as the speeches so that people can improve. Our theme for tonight is passing the flame, and that is, it has to do with the Olympics. My notes just dropped to the floor there. And it has to do with the Olympics. As perhaps you know, the 2020 Summer Olympics are going to be held in the summer of 2021. When the flame is passed, it is first lit in Olympia, Greece, and then a relay of torch bearers take the flame from Olympia, Greece around the world, and eventually the cauldron will be lit at the Olympic ceremony by the final runner in the relay. I was reading an essay by Mark Reynolds, who is an entrepreneur. He is an environmentalist. He's a speaker, and he was the first CEO of Netflix. You've heard of Netflix. He was running a Zoom meeting, and he had an introductory little speech and wanted an icebreaker. So he had each member of this Zoom committee say something about themselves that other people wouldn't necessarily know. And one of the men said he had been a torchbearer in the Olympics. And then he pulled his torch out and showed it to everyone. And everyone said, well, how do you have your torch? I mean, you're supposed to pass the torch, aren't you? And the man replied, you don't actually pass the torch, you pass the flame. All right, so you hold the 2 torches together and pass the flame. And our theme, therefore, is passing the flame, because we have the last meeting of the current executive board of online presenters, passing the flame, the fire, the passion, and so on from this executive board to the next executive board that will start in July 1, the new year for Toastmasters. And so that is the reason for passing the flame. The word of the day is gratitude. And I just put that in the chat. It's a noun, and this means to be grateful or thankful. And I have to say, you know, they let me be secretary this last year, and I got to sit in and take notes on these fabulous meetings of leaders from around the world, communicators from around the world, and I learned so much. And as I would repeat what Nick has to say, which is if you get a chance to serve on the board, it is truly a wonderful experience. And I have to thank everyone who put up with me at meetings, as I feel quite like the lesser member. I want to express my gratitude, therefore, for the ability to sit on the committee. And then I further wish to express my gratitude to the incoming executive board, knowing that my successor is extremely well qualified, and I'm passing the flame on to her. It is now, I'm going to have to retrieve my notes. You're going to, because I need to know who is speaking first. I know it's Brian David Crawford, but I need to get his speech title. Let's see, unless I have it here. I do have it here. Brian David Crawford, Distinguished Toastmaster, will be our first speaker. He will be speaking, the title of his speech is Spark Joy at Work. He will be speaking from the Leadership Development Path, Level 1, Mastering Fundamentals, Evaluation and Feedback, First Speech. And he did write introductory remarks. I have forgotten the roles and the helpers because my speech is down between my desk and my wall here. So if you'll allow me to backtrack, please. The meeting cannot go on without meeting facilitators. My first facilitator is counter Angela Heath. Angela, would you please unmute and tell us about your role?
Hello, everyone. As the counter, I have the very special role of listening for any kind of distracting language, such as crutch words, double words, ums and ahs. And at the end of the meeting, I will give my report. So I am listening to you. Back to you, Lee.
Thank you very much, Angela. Our second facilitator is grammarian April Elise. April, would you please unmute and tell us about your role?
Thanks. As the grammarian, it is my responsibility to pay close attention to all speakers, listening carefully to their language usage. I will take note of any misusage of the English language as well as outstanding usage. I will also listen for usage of the word of the day. Toastmaster Emily has already placed the word of today in the chat, so I will listen out for usage of that today. So please try to use that in your speech today. When called upon, I will give my report. Over to you, Toastmaster, for today.
Thank you, April. Our next facilitator is watcher Natasha Van Ellison. Would you please tell us about your role today?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day. It gives me great gratitude to serve as watcher. And as watcher, I focus on the visual portion of our online meeting space. I am responsible for noticing all meeting participants, not only speakers, and providing constructive feedback for improvement. During the meeting, I will watch carefully for items such as visual effects, body language, props, slides, backgrounds, framings, and video quality. When called upon, I will give a 1-minute report highlighting exceptional and problematic visual items observed during the meeting. So please smile and let's have some fun. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Natasha. Our next facilitator is chat monitor Rick Durling. Rick, would you please tell us about your role?
I certainly will. Thank you, Emily. My role as chat monitor is keep an eye on things happening in chat. Appropriate uses of it are something that I really want to see, but if there's something interesting that's posted, I will definitely report on that at the end of the meeting. Back to you, Emily.
Thank you, Rick. Our next facilitator is vote counter Mary Ruth Dilling. Mary Ruth, would you please tell us about your role? I am currently looking for Mary Ruth. Sorry, Mary Ruth, I have you as a vote counter. Are you there?
Madam Toastmaster, as backup, I'll set up the vote on the Zoom poll, just in case. All right?
All right. Thank
carry
you.
on.
Thank you, Christian. No worries.
She
I
is here?
Yeah, I saw her there.
Okay.
I checked her in. Okay, and we have our timer, Andy Byrne. Would you please unmute and tell us about your role?
My role as the timer is to watch and listen carefully for when a speaker begins to speak or make a gesture and time them according to the parameters for their project. I will then report out as we're going through in the chat box or when called upon by the Toastmaster of the day or the Journal Evaluator.
Thank you, Andy. I believe I got all our facilitators. Thank you all very much. And thank you for volunteering. That's fabulous. I would like to introduce our first speaker, Brian David Crawford, Distinguished Toastmaster, whose speech title is Spark Joy at Work. I already introduced, it's from the Leadership Development Path. The introduction is not being sad isn't the same as not being happy. Again, Brian David Crawford, Spark Joy at Work.
All right, I know what you're thinking. BDC isn't in his office. In fact, he appears to be standing at a very dark lanai in an inclusive resort in the Dominican Republic. It's true, I'm 100% exactly doing that. So why I'm here at Toastmasters tonight? It's simple. I'm here for my mental health. I'm here for your mental health. I'm here because I have a message I think is so important that I stepped away from my family to give you this message. Just because you aren't sad doesn't mean you are happy. That's a quote I read in the book Joy at Work earlier today. The book is Marie Kondo's latest book to make the world a better place by keeping only the things that spark joy in our lives. And this time, she's talking about the thing that probably sparks the least amount of joy for all of us: work. First, I want to say if you love your job, good for you. Go browse Instagram for the next 5 to 7 minutes because this speech is not for you. Now that we got rid of those people, this is what I want to tell you. When I was a little kid, I had a dream. I was going to be a sports broadcaster. I'd be the person yelling, "Holy Toledo," when an amazing home run was hit. Or yelling, "Oh," and then the band is on the field, before a trombone player gets smashed to the ground at the end of the football game. Eventually, that morphed into me being a radio DJ. And I got to do that. I was actually one at KMBR San Francisco for 6 years. But I realized something. I loved sports, I loved radio, but I hated working in sports, and I hated working in radio even more. So I turned to another passion of mine, photography. And I took amazing photos that hang on people's walls, and the one's actually in a museum. But I'm so proud of the work that I did. But most importantly, I learned that I hated taking photos for other people on their terms. Both of those jobs were things that I loved, hobbies that I cherished. And because I bought into that whole, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life crap, I realized that I turned my hobbies, my passions, I turned them into work. And then my hobbies, because they were work, they stopped sparking joy. I had to find new hobbies. All I aspired was a job that I didn't hate, that afforded me the luxury of being able to do whatever I wanted, within reason, for the other 168 hours a week. I realized while reading that book on vacation, that while I am not unhappy with my job does not spark joy. For too long, I've had a good paying job with an understanding boss who lets me control my day with minimal oversight. As long as no one complains about me, I can literally set my schedule and do whatever I need to do to get the job done. I really have what actually most people would say is their dream job, a job that pays well and has zero stress. I don't hate my job. I don't even dislike it. But my job does not spark joy for me. That doesn't mean it cannot. It just means right now, at this moment in time, how it exists, there is no joy. I don't sign off of work every day and feel refreshed. I don't get excited about waking up at 5 a.m. and getting on to work in my day. And I don't think I had to, but now, yeah. Why can't my job spark joy? When people think of the KonMari method as sparking joy, when they think about tidying up their home, they think, oh, this blender, this doesn't spark joy. I got to get rid of it. How can I apply that to work? I don't like Karen from accounting. Can I just get rid of her? Well, no, instead, what she's focusing on is getting to the root of what you actually do here. You need to find out everything that you do in a day or a week. Look at each task and ask yourself one of these 3 questions. Is this task required for me to keep and excel at my job? Will this task help create a more joyful future? For example, help me get a raise, earn a promotion, or maybe learn a new skill. Does this task spark joy and contribute to a more satisfaction at work? If the task does not fit any of those 3 categories, get rid of it. Because doing those kinds of activities, the ones that we don't have to do because it's not really our job, the ones that won't create a more joyful future, and the ones that don't make you happy, those are sucking the mental health from me and from you. Those are the things that make us shudder when Karen from accounting calls us because she still doesn't know how to upload a Word document to SharePoint. Next Tuesday at my weekly one-on-one meeting with my boss, I won't have the standard conversation that we have every week about what are my tasks and have I accomplished anything this week. I'm going to tell them I want my job to spark joy. I'm going to talk about what I do every day. We're going to figure out what of those things are going to spark joy. What are those things that help me keep my job? We're going to figure out what we need to do to make sure that I have a more joyful life, because that is what we should strive for every day. So here's what my ask is of you. Do the same damn thing. Don't just get rid of a task because you don't like it. Simply getting rid of things because we don't like them isn't the same as choosing the things that spark joy.
Thank you, Brian David Crawford, for that wonderful speech. I love that you had spark of joy in a speech where the theme of the day is also about passing the flame. You just fan that spark into a flame. Hopefully it doesn't catch your jacket on fire, because then you'd have to call it a blazer. Okay, I see that our vote counter has can now give her report. Vote counter, Mary Ruth Dilling, would you please tell us what the vote counter does?
Yes. As vote counter, when it is time to vote, you send through the private chat your votes for speaker and evaluators. And I will report at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Our second speaker is Carolina Ramírez, and in the spirit of Toastmasters, we just voted her in, and now she's giving her first speech at Online Presenters, so we have to admire this. Carolina's title will be Something About Me. She is speaking from the Dynamic Leadership Level 1 Mastering Fundamentals, Evaluation and Feedback first speech. Her introduction is, since it's my first speech at Online Presenters, it's time to talk about me. Again, this is Something About Me by Carolina Ramírez.
Good evening, fellow.
Is this an icebreaker or a first speech?
No, this is the first speech of the project Dynamic Leadership Evaluation and Feedback. I have between 5 and 7 minutes for this speech.
Go ahead, Carolina.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you accepted me because this is my first speech. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Today, I'm presenting the first speech of the project Evaluation and Feedback from the Dynamic Leadership Pathways. And after thinking a lot about the topic, I decided to make an extended icebreaker because this is my first speech in Online Presenters, and I thought that it would be nice to let you know something about your new club partner. My name is Carolina Ramírez. Some of my friends call me Rami or Pelle for Pellejo, skin in Spanish because I'm thin. I was born in Chile. I live in Chile, and my native language is Spanish. So it's a nice challenge for me to be part of this wonderful club. This is my third icebreaker, but it is a completely different person who is introducing herself, a different person from 7 years ago, a different person from 2 years ago. And that's the exciting part of giving an icebreaker. You can reflect on how much you have evolved since the last time. I'm a mining engineer. I have 2 diplomas in business. And even though the choice of my career did not convince me or made me totally happy, and after the drama that implies working in something you don't like, I ended up doing something that I love. That was something big in my life. Currently, I work helping mining companies in their digital transformation process. On the other side, the entrepreneurship has always caught my attention, and I really love the entrepreneurial spirit. So I didn't want to lose the opportunity in this life to have my own business. I have one business partner, and we sell leggings on Instagram on a well-known marketplace in Chile. My business is very small, but we have a constant flow of sales. Talking about sports in my life, I like to surf, and I haven't seen the beach since the pandemic started. It has not been easy to me to travel to the coast because of the restrictions and work. And currently, I'm reaching a point where I dream about the beach while I'm sleeping almost every week. Also, I'm a twerk dancer. None of the people I know can shake the hips like I do. If you don't know what twerk is, you can Google it and start to dance at home. You'll be surprised with the results of your body shape. I've been a Toastmaster for 8 years. Wow, as time goes, I'm surprised. And I must confess that I still get nervous when I have to present in front of an audience, especially at work. However, I always achieve the purpose to align the team under the same goal because Toastmasters has trained me well on how to speak confidently and deliver my message clearly. Thanks to this training, I could give the speech that my grandmother deserved on the day of her funeral and help my family to express their feelings and thoughts through my voice. And also I got some tears from the audience. It's all about to be a Toastmaster. Now I have 2 answers for 2 questions. The first, why did I choose the path dynamic leadership? Because one of my goals for this year is to learn how to work as a team and to be a great leader. Even though I know perfectly the academic definition of what leadership is, I used to be more like, okay, I finished my work. I hope the members of my team are doing well. Now it's time for me to rest and do something else. Bye. However, life has shown me that with collaborative work, everyone wins. There is a saying that probably you know. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. The second question, why I decided to transfer my membership to online presenters? Because in Chile, we don't have a Toastmaster culture and we don't have advanced clubs. And I decided that it was time for me to take the next step and have new challenges as a Toastmaster. I checked the time zone for different meetings and I visited 3 advanced online clubs compatible with my schedule. Since I wanted to be part of the most advanced club, I chose online presenters and here I am. Starting a new stage as a Toastmaster, this time during a pandemic, completely online, and speaking all the time in a foreign language. Now I'm wondering how my next icebreaker will be, what I will be doing in 1 or 2 years. By the moment, I'm choosing once again to be part of this organization called Toastmasters. Why? Because I'm still learning, I'm still contributing to become better speakers and leaders to my fellow Toastmasters. And because to become a Toastmasters was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. The impact has been so big that I need a complete different speech to tell you about that story. Finally, to finish my introduction, I'd like to share with you a thought of the Toastmaster founder, Ralph Smedley. It says, whatever your grade or position, if you know how and when to speak and when to remain silent, your chances of real success are proportionally increased. So here I go again, feeling gratitude to be here. Miss Toastmaster, back to you.
Thank you very much, Carolina, for that. Very nice to get to know you, and we look forward to having you in our club. For our third speaker, we have Marty Sandler, and Marty has told us that he is having difficulty getting his camera on. So you will be hearing Marty, but not seeing him. Marty will be speaking with the title Unplanned Rebellion. And again, this is Unplanned Rebellion by Marty Sandler.
Unmute. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, Marty.
Thank you. Madam Toastmaster of the day, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. I've been a Toastmaster for a long time, but I never thought of myself as a leader. Certainly not when I started college many long years ago. But here's how it went. I grew up in New York City, specifically in the Bronx. Now, the opposite end of New York City is Brooklyn. And for reasons that are very hard to explain to myself, much less to anyone else, I chose to attend a college in Brooklyn, namely what was then the Polytechnic Institute of Brooklyn. Well, there are some advantages and some disadvantages to not going away to college. One advantage I had was that it was much less expensive. And that's why I could do it. Frankly, money was a problem, and I was the oldest of 3 boys, so you can imagine how my parents felt about spending money. They had a lot to learn about what to do with it. They didn't have much to spend, and they certainly didn't want me to spend any by running out of town to an out-of-town Ivy League school. So I didn't. And let me tell you, it's one of the best things I ever didn't do. I went to a school called Polytechnic Institute of Brooklyn. I admit that this was a little bit of an extravagance. Tuition was about $500 per semester. But my parents said they could afford it. They would go along with it because I never liked the idea of going to a huge school. I could have gone to City College, and it would have cost nothing at that time. But it was an enormous school, and I frankly thought I'd get lost in the pond, so to speak. So I started at Polytechnic Institute of Brooklyn, ride the subway for an hour every morning, go to school, come back, having ridden the subway for another hour. Kind of boring. And like many people, I decided to see, well, what can I do here in school? I thought about joining a fraternity. And fraternities are kind of strange beasts. If you choose to join one, you are called a pledge. Pledge. What am I pledging anyway? I have no idea. But I did. And it was interesting. I met a few people. They had a little cubby hole that they used as a fraternity house. It was fun. But what I didn't realize was that in their eyes, a pledge was the lowest of the low. You just couldn't be a lower human being than a pledge. So as I went along, they held what they called a pledge court. Now, I think a pledge court was supposed to be humorous. Certainly, one thing was for sure, the established members, brothers or freighters, walked around with big paddles, which they made it clear, we will not touch you with this. This is for visual effect only. But what I did discover was that they were very happy to put you down verbally. And after about, 40 minutes or so of being insulted, I got annoyed. In those days, I was not as even-tempered as I have trained myself to be. And after about, as I said, 40 minutes, I stood up and said, you know what? I am going to leave this place. I am going to start a good social organization. Anyone who wants to join me, come along. And I walked out. Now, I can't imagine anything less characteristic of the Marty Sandler I thought I was. I'd never thought of myself as a leader. Indeed, I made it a point never to lead. But it didn't work out because I did have to join something just to keep from being bored stiff. And so, as I said, I announced in my pledge court, I'm leaving here and I'm starting a good social organization. Anyone who wants to do the same, come along. What astonished me was that as I walked out, the entire group of pledges came along. There were about 12 or 13 of us, I guess. And they came along. Why? I guess they liked the sound of what I'm saying. So there we were on a sidewalk in Brooklyn. We had no real place to go. We didn't know quite what to do, but we found a cubby hole and said, okay, what are we going to be? We're not going to be a fraternity, that's for sure, because we don't like the way they do things. We're going to be something else. And I later found out that there was something called a house plan. A house plan, in a sense, was a local fraternity without the nonsense. We, that is the 12 or 14 people, I see I'm running much too long, sorry. All I can say is that I did indeed start an organization and it worked. It was wonderful. I had fun for 4 years. And then I did what I'm about to do now, which is to say, back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Marty. And thank you so much for volunteering. We had people very generous with their time volunteering to fill up our speaking slots today. We are running a little short on time, and Mr. Timer, could you tell us if all 3 speakers made their timing requirements?
Speaker number 1, 6 minutes and 05 seconds. Speaker number 2, 6 minutes, 20 seconds. Speaker number 3, 7 minutes and 28 seconds, all qualify.
All right, then that's great. And if everyone would please vote by private chat to our vote counter, Mary Ruth Dilling. You can send your vote there for best speaker of the day. At this point, I'd like to introduce our table topics master, who is Hector Cabrera Farjat. And I guess we have time for 3 quick table topics.
Madam Toastmaster and Mr. Table Topic Speaker, we're going to do things differently. It's going to be not 2 minutes. It's going to be 1 minute for each speaker, 1 minute for each speaker, and only one light, the red light at 1 minute. That's it. 1 minute, red light at 1 minute. That's it. Over to you.
Thank you very much. I love to be Table Topics Masters because I get to learn from my fellow Toastmasters. And keeping up with the theme and the word of the day, I want to ask the following questions. What is one thing that you really appreciate from someone in Online Presenters Club? And I would like to ask to the outgoing VP of Education, Kristen.
Oh my, I just put myself on the spot. So my 1 minute of sharing is the stretch. This has been my mandate where I've been stretched the most, not only by my crazy president, but by all the activities that have been happening. He's a crazy president, but he's an absolutely fantastic mentor. And I'm blessed because if I look at the roster of the club officers, everyone is an independent leader, and we all came together and look in the same direction. So the point I want to make is, as a team, you want to have the same direction and go for it. So that's what I'm learning from and I'm taking away. Over to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kristen. Let me now ask one of our guests. If you could thank one person, living or dead, for his or her influence in your life, who would you thank? Sarah, would you care to answer that question?
Yes, thank you. Who would I thank? Well, that would be a combination of many people, because I've been extremely lucky in my life to know a lot of great people. I think that in my own life, that would be probably my 10th grade English teacher. She very much nurtured me and my writing, and ultimately I became a writer. I think that the personalized attention was terrific, as well as the fact that she was such a great traveler, and that interested me in that path as well. And as a travel writer, that has been a great joy for me. We're very lucky with teachers who actually give us that nurturing and so on. When you consider that certainly in the US system, that teacher may have 120 to 200 students per day, and to individually seek out students. And I don't believe that I was the only person that she was such an inspiration for. We are very lucky in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah, for playing out. Now, let me go back to one of our outgoing officers. When was this past year when you had to do the right thing, even though it was difficult? Mr. President, Nick, would you care to answer that question?
I can't name the exact situation, but there were a number of times when it's easy to just say, oh, we'll let that ride, we'll let it go. I'm president of 2 clubs this year, so I'm not going to tell you which club it was. But what actually happened, actually wasn't this one, but what actually happened was that it wasn't a mistake as such, but there was something that happened where we chartered a club a few months ago. We thought we would actually pay the fees in January. And for administrative reasons and various other reasons, we paid the fees in February. So what that means is we didn't pay Toastmasters International $7.50 for all of our 25 members. So my treasurer said, let's keep the money in the kitty. And I said, no. He said, yes. And I looked to my immediate past president, which in a Charter Club is a bit difficult, but Lois, our IPP here, is my mentor there. And I looked at her, she looked at me. No, we couldn't do it. We gave the money back or offered it back. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster. Mr. Deputy Master.
Thank you very much, Nick. Thanks for sharing with us that experience. Do I have time for one last question to one of our guests? Let's see.
I'm sorry, we are out of time. We have to
Okay,
move on.
then back to our Toastmasters of the day. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Hector. Those were great questions. We need to go immediately to our general evaluator, who I believe is Li Sing Zhu. Are you ready as general evaluator?
Yes, Madam Toastmaster of the Day. It's my great pleasure to serve as a general evaluator. I'm serving it with gratitude. The evaluation part is the most important part of our Toastmaster meeting, because during this process, we are able to learn from our own strengths, our weakness, and we learn from each other. With that, I'm going to introduce our first evaluator, Carol Prohinskin. Carol will be evaluating BDC's excellent speech spark, joy at work. Carol, the podium is yours.
Thank you. Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. It's always a pleasure. Li Sing, I have so much gratitude for you taking this role as general evaluator. BCD, thank you for introducing the newest book by Marie Kondo. I look forward to reading it at some point. The speech, though, did not attract me to the book, and it had me concerned. Did I miss something? And maybe wonder, was I missing something? So some of the things that you did really well is that you used the word you often. One of the ways to attract people to your speech is by talking to them, like you are face to face with them. You do that extremely well. What an area to work on is, I'm going to mention 2 points. One is your seating. The camera was moving throughout your speech, and you were moving as well, not always in alignment with each other. The second point I want to mention is you had some words that you were using that weren't so professional. And so I want to call you out on that and just say, let's clean it up a little and not use those words. I'll include exactly which words were bothering me in your written evaluation, but there was no need for them. And so unless there's a true purpose for them, my suggestion is to find the right word that conveys your message and get that across to us a little bit more succinctly. I want to thank you always for honing in on a topic that is really of concern, not just with me and other people around me, but with our society. And perhaps it's Marie Kondo that's tackling that for the rest of the world, but you are bringing it to us. And so I want to thank you for that. I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to Li Sing. I'm hoping I'm at 2 minutes, but I might not be. I know that we are pressed for time. Thank you. Li Sing.
Thank you, Carol. Our second evaluator will be Roxanne Hussein. She will be evaluating Caroline Ramírez's speech, Something About Me. Roxanne, please take the floor.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. And thank you, Carolina, for that speech. Let me first express my gratitude to you for the gift of that speech. I am going to start off by saying that I'm going to be talking out of 2 sides of my mouth with this evaluation, because the things that I was captivated by in this speech are some of the very things that I'm going to suggest you pull in and temper. And one of them was your affect. You were full of life and energy, and I enjoyed that. And you had movement with your pace, and I enjoyed that. Your speech title, the title of a speech is often the first clue that sets the expectation for the audience. And for us, with that title, Something About Me, we were still curious. Is it going to be something broadly? Let me share about me, or is it something specific? So that already had us curious and leading in. And your title was great to set that up. What we did get was both. You shared a lot about you, a whole timeline, your work, your dance, and then you brought it specifically down to the Toastmasters. I enjoyed getting all that about you, but I'm going to suggest that for a speech, you pare that back and pare it way back, because the amount we got about you, it ended up reading almost like a curriculum vitae, rather than an intimate revelation of you. And I'll share my recommendation for your second speech in a bit when it comes to that. I was aware that you were looking away for notes. I really appreciated that when you came back, it was to me. So that also made a connection, and I enjoyed that as well. The two things, as I see the time is coming upon me, that I'm going to suggest you work on for your redo of this speech. First is the structure. Pare it way down. And in the beginning, you restated the speech objectives. Not necessary. Let the Toastmaster take care of that. Use that time. Secondly, would be the delivery. And here's the big thing I'm going to suggest. Pauses. We hear about pauses for effect, but let's talk about the effect we're trying to go for. One would be emphasizing something that's about to come. So that's when you pause before what you're about to say. The other is when you want us to take time to soak in what we just heard. So you pause after what you just said. Your pace was constant and fast throughout. Break that up with some pauses. Give it time to breathe. You have the time allowed, and a different structure, paring it back, will allow you to do that. I'll share more details in my written evaluation. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Roxanne. Wonderful evaluation. Our third evaluator will be Antoinette Trim. She will be evaluating Marty Sandler's speech, Unplanned Rebellion. Antoinette, please take the floor.
Good evening, General Evaluator and Toastmasters and my fellow Toastmasters. Thank you, Marty, for that heading, Unplanned Rebellion. And to Marty, having been a Toastmaster for 40 years plus, I believe you're well aware of the Toastmasters requirements. However, I am going to evaluate you using the acronym HOPE, H-O-P-E. H stands for high, that in that you are being able to encourage people to follow you. And I think that was a big encouragement in being able for people to follow you. Oh, with an option. Maybe you can start off your speech with a quotation or a storyline instead of just starting mundane way of doing things. And P, the pace of your speech. I liked your pace. I was able to understand almost everything that you were saying. And I also like your voice modulation as well. When you use that big, heavy voice, I'm going to leave this place. I like that about it. And E, with respect to evoke, you evoke some sort of inspiration for all of us. Since you never believed yourself to become a leader, you eventually did become a leader. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Antoinette. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to give a round warm applause to all the evaluators. So now is the time for reporting. I'm going to call our first facilitator, our AHA counter, Angela Hayes, to give a report. Angela, please take the floor.
Thank you, Madam Evaluator. We did pretty good with our counting. We had a few filler words. We had a couple double words from Nick. Emily, you had quite a few ums. Carolina, you used liked and you know a couple times. Marty used so, but actually, guys, I didn't have much work to do. You guys did a fantastic job. So I will send individual comments in the chat box. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Angela. So next, let's hear from our grammarian, April Elize. I'm sorry, I may mispronounce your name, April.
Thank you, General Evaluator. It was a pleasure listening to your speeches today and the table topics. I made a note of excellent grammar usages and quickly just a few. BDC's usage of inclusive and morphed into becoming, and Carolina's evolved and even using torquing, which is very popular here in the States. And Sarah, our guest, she talked about teachers with nurturing. Meanwhile, I was happy to see that usage of Natasha's use of the word of today, as well as Lycene's use of the word of today. So good job with using that. And back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, April. And next, let's hear from our watcher, Natasha Van Nelissen. Natasha?
Natasha, but thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Evaluator, Master Evaluator. I am going to keep this very short. I actually placed the report in the chat box. And those of you with the great smiles, thank you so much. I did place Angela Heath, and Antoinette, Christian, and I left April, I left you off. You had a really great smile today or this evening, night, depending on where you are. Everyone was centered very well. The backgrounds were fantastic. Donna, Elaine, Lou, Surya, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Very festive. Christian is sitting on top of the world. Yay. Excellent. All in all, everyone, you look fabulous. Excellent. Roxanne, I love that background too. Back to you, General Evaluator, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Natasha.
You're welcome.
Next, let's hear from our chat monitor, Richard Durling. Richard?
Thank you very much, Lisa. Not a lot to report. The chat was very quiet today and appropriately used. Back to you.
Thank you, Richard. Next will be our vote counter. Are we going to have a report from vote counter or not? Or have we voted?
Yes, our speaker of the day is Carolina. Our evaluator is Roxanne, and our table topics winner is Sarah.
Thank you. Let's give a round of applause to our winners. So as a general evaluator, it's my responsibility to evaluate the overall meeting. Our meetings start on time with a big smile from Roxanne. And we have wonderful speeches, and we have wonderful table topic, and we have certainly wonderful evaluations. There are a few highlights I would like to discuss. First is our past President Nick's farewell speech, which is so touching and sparked my gratitude to those who have served and who are serving and who will serve us. And also highlight is that we have a first chance, to my understanding, is the first time we actually vote for accepting our newest member to our community. I'm so grateful for that. And everything went very well. And a lot of our speakers, our evaluators and functionaries use the gratitude, the word of the day. Everything goes smoothly and well done, everyone. And this is my general evaluation. And right now I'm going to return this podium to our Toastmaster, Emily Thompson. Emily.
Thank you so much, Lee Sing. And I'm going to pass it right on back to our president, Nick Lacani.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Lee Sing. Thank you to all the speakers and role players and evaluators today. I'm very, very happy. We got through a lot of things today. We did something that no other online presenter club online board has done, or we did something brand new. Fantastic. One of the keys about this year is we did things differently, not to totally have revolution. It's about evolution. We've built on the past successes of the previous 3 years and built on it and made it a shade better. We got 10 out of 10 DCP points for the first time. We looked outside of the club, possibly for the first time. One of the things that we did was we started, I feel, meshing more together, connecting more together as a club. And for that, I have the officers and their teams to thank. And as I said, we are going to have a little bit more of a celebration, proper celebration of our officers, of our Toastmaster year, and the everybody involved in VTM as well. We're going to have a bit of a party. And after we close the recording, we're going to have a little bit of light music with some talk and chatter, just like a little party, get your little aperitifs. But one of the things I want you to do is to thank the outgoing board and the incoming board. So in the chat, I've actually put it in there to a list of everybody involved. Thank you to all of those people. And they themselves had teams to help them throughout the year as well. Thank you to the club for trusting us. Thank you to Lois Margolin, my very, very good friend. What she taught me, and the first thing that she told me when I was elected president was, stay in your lane, Nick. It's been tough, I can tell you. It's been tough. I am learning, honest. And I'm a better person now. I'm a better Toastmaster now than compared to 12 months ago. And a lot of that has got to come with this role and this club. So thank you for that. I'm full of gratitude for you, all of you, and all the people I worked with, all our visitors that came. We have two announcements. We have an announcement from David Carr. One of the things on our website is that we do a lot of things on our website. It's really important that you as officers and even members know how to use some of them and even take it away to your club. So David is holding an event tomorrow where he's going to show some of these tips and tricks for using the software, the Toastmasters software. And Christian is going to share that in the chat and he's inviting you to 7 p.m. tomorrow night to a training, and just go and have a look. If you can't make it, register. You may well get a link to the video, but do that. Mr. VP, Christian, do we have any? I should Christian, can you just come on camera for 1 second, please? Okay, thank you so much. Christian has taken a brunt of my craziness this year. Thank you. Thank you to all our officers and our incoming VP, Andy Byrne. Do we have any notices from the education team for next week and next year?
Enjoy your night off. Be prepared to submit up to 5 weeks of requests for roles and positions and speeches and evaluations. The schedule will fill up quickly.
Thank you very much. The last thing I want to say is a big thank you to Andre, and before him, Asil, David Carr, Audrey Smolenko, David Carr, Emily Thompson, Elaine Nieberding, Lewis Brown, Christian Ramchan, Lois Margolin. It's been a pleasure. I love you all. Good night, members and guests. And when we close the meeting at 9 p.m. Eastern, which is going to happen any second now, we're going to switch off the recording. We'll have a chat with some guests as well. It's 9 p.m. We start on time. We end on time. Please close the recording. Let's chat to some guests.